In the church, we so often talk about sex and marriage that I think a lot of single Christians have the question, well, then what's the purpose of my sexuality? Is it just to kind of hang on to it for me to one day maybe get married? What if I never get married? You know, the truth is, sexuality is not just the action of having sex. Sexuality is an aspect of us as human beings. To be sexual means that we even have the physical capacity, the organs of sexuality. It means that we've gone through puberty. We have the hormones related to our sexuality, that we have urges and desires and longings. And all of those are very real, whether you are single or you are married. And so a lot of single Christians are saying, well, what's the purpose? Why would God give me my sexuality and then say, I can't act on it? I think it's critical to understand that acting on your sexuality is not just having sex. Being a sexual person means being a gendered person, a male or a female, and all that that encompasses. It means being a person who is drawn to intimate relationships. And when I say intimate relationships, again, I don't mean sexual relationships. I mean drawn into relationship where you're known and you know other people and you feel a sense of connection and commitment. You know, that's an essential part of being a thriving human being. And I think the only category we have for that right now in our culture is to get married and have sex, instead of realizing that you can be thriving and not be having sex. You can be acting out as a sexual person without being sexually sinning. We look at the lives of Jesus and Paul as our example. These were single men who were fully alive, and yes, they were sexual creatures. They had intimate relationships. They cared for people. They were men, fully men. And so I think when we limit our sexuality to just having sex, it really doesn't give context for what it is to live fully in what God has designed us to be. And I know that can be confusing for a lot of singles because they're asking, well, what does that practically look like? Well, I think part of what that looks like is recognizing that you can go through life without sex, but you can't go through life without intimacy. That God calls you to pursue intimacy in your relationships and in your community, which is why the Bible not only talks about marriage as a form of intimacy, but even more importantly, the family of God. And we really need to be developing within the church thriving communities that represent the kind of intimacy that God has created the family of God to be. And that really is how we walk out our sexuality, whether we're single, married, divorced, or widowed. We're all meant to be pursuing that kind of intimate relationship with one another.